All right. Good morning and welcome to the Murf and Edubbs show minus Edubbs. I tried to get in touch with Edubbs yesterday and see if he wanted to do a show this morning. And what Edubbs told me was he was flying out to California. I don't know what that meant. I think he might be flying out to California to beat Francisco Lindor to the punch when it comes to Soto, because Edubbs is a big Yankee fan. Maybe he might go out there and tell Juan Soto something he may want to hear. But I don't think he's going to the Yankees. But first, we'll get to that. Let's start off with last night's fight. Now, last night's fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, I thought was going to be a bloodbath. The only reason why I thought it was going to be a bloodbath is because I thought Mike Tyson was going to go back to the person he was back in the 90s and the 80s and just kind of go blank and just really kill this kid. But in actuality, Mike Tyson got tired. All the hype, Jake Paul yesterday getting slapped in the face, them going back and forth with each other, breaking each other's chops, all the pomp and circumstance. I mean, look, this kid, Jake Paul, is a super duper promoter. Anything he touches right now at this point in his life turns to actually gold, not even gold, platinum. So pushing this fight made him millions. Netflix jumping onto this fight made him millions. Now let's talk about the Netflix broadcast for a second. Now, Netflix, you should be embarrassed. The reason I say that is because you are one of the up and coming streaming services that are going to be doing live sports. Now, I'm not saying you're an up and coming streaming service because you've got movies and shows on lockdown, but you guys want to get into the sports game, you got to get better people to call these fights. You better get better people to involved in. If your football broadcasts are going to be anything like these boxing broadcasts I listened to last night, you guys are going to have some serious trouble because what is Roy Jones Jr. talking about? Roy Jones Jr., all he did all night was mumble. I guess they got him over there, as a kind of a boxing expert, but basically all he said was Mike was slow. Mike was tired. Mike shouldn't be doing that. Why is he biting his glove? Got to hear some more excitement out of that. Then you get Rosie Perez. Rosie Perez. What does she know about boxing? I don't know. Maybe she's a big boxing fan, but she really didn't add much to it. And then you got this dumbass, and I don't know his name. Please forgive me. But all he did all night was just talk nonsense. All he did was yell and scream about Mike Tyson, and this one got this one got hosed, and trying to I guess what, it's hard to do. When you have to be the hype man for a fight that's been hyped up for months and months and months, and now you're here, and you got to be the hype man for that fight. I guess that's kind of a hard job. So, but they have to do a little bit of a better job when it comes to the fact that they are broadcasting live sports. Like I'm broadcasting a live podcast. This is kind of like my practice run. Maybe one day I'll get it up to there. I could have definitely done a better job calling that Tyson fight last night. But at the end of the day, if you want to watch the fight, if you look for what it is, I remember maybe I think it was back in 2020 when Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. Now, that fight, as soon as they threw the first punch at each other, you knew that was just kind of like, all right, let's get in the ring and make some money for charity. Mike Tyson trained for this fight. Jake Paul trained for this fight. It was all over social media. Mike Tyson got rushed to the hospital one time. Mike Tyson showing you signs of, him punching like he used to, but I guess that was like 10 to 20-second clips. But anyway, what Mike Tyson showed you last night is Mike Tyson is one of the greatest boxers of all time. Jake Paul is one of the greatest promoters of all time. Two of them got together last night and got into a fight. Now, it was a sanctioned fight. It's been something like an enormous, almost 8,000 days, I think they said, since Mike Tyson's last sanctioned fight. When I say sanctioned fight, I mean, has Jake Paul really had any sanctioned fights? He's been beating up, old UFC guys, NBA guys, not taking anything away from the way that the kid fights. But at the end of the day, he's a big kid. He's 20, almost 30 years younger than Mike Tyson. So this fight last night was a direct result of Mike Tyson getting tired. I'll tell you right now, and at the end of that fight, it was a good thing Jake Paul didn't take the route of making fun of him, calling him an old man. And it was a really good route that he went by him being gracious, by saying that, Mike is the greatest of all time. Mike was a beast, this, that, and the other thing. And I think Mike Tyson got it too. I think Mike Tyson at that point in his life, being a 50-year-old man who literally was the toughest guy on the face of the planet in his heyday, finally got a chance to realize to himself that I was that guy. I could hang with the young kid. A street fight might have been different, but that fight last night was a direct result of Mike Tyson just being tired, being old. And Jake Paul, you want to say that you're a fighter, you want to say you're a boxer. I'm not saying you're going to knock Mike Tyson out, but you went the distance with him. You hit him hard, you knock him down a little bit. He's an older guy. But that was what that was last night. That was a direct result of Mike Tyson being older than Jake Paul. And I know I went on these rants on TikTok talking about how he's going to kill him. He's preparing for his funeral, this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of that fight last night, Jake Paul wound up being very gracious, and he honored Mike Tyson in the right way. And then they started asking questions to Tyson. Then they started asking questions to Jake Paul. This guy was just filling time. They got to stop filling time on these broadcasts. When it's over, it's over. You got to stop asking Mike Tyson questions about stupid questions about, are you going to fight again? How do you feel? What are you going to do? End of the line. That's it. Let the guy go lay down. Let the guy go sit down. He was obviously out of breath. He was trying to show Jake Paul some respect, I guess, in his own way. And Jake Paul, in the same turn, was trying to show him some respect. But at the end of the day, the fight last night was an old guy who lost to a young kid who really hasn't shown anything in the boxing world yet. Because again, yes, he's Mike Tyson. Yes, he's the toughest man in the world. But Mike Tyson in 1992 would have literally murdered you. So it was full of pomp and circumstance, the dog and pony show, and it's over now. And I don't know, where's this kid Jake Paul going to go next? I don't know, but he's a super duper promoter. And why are you looking over at the other guy, Logan Paul, and trying to make a comment? Because Logan Paul came back and he was a little disrespectful, saying, Mike, I will beat your ass. You know what? Shut the fuck up, Logan Paul, and get back to the WWE. Okay, so that's enough on the Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and Mike Tyson fight last night, because at the end, it seemed like he jumped on Tyson a little bit. So anyway, let's go to the big news in the baseball world. Big news in baseball world right now is Juan Soto, and more Juan Soto. Now, I say that because there's a lot of other free agents out there, but Juan Soto is the name, and Juan Soto is holding up teams from signing other free agents. Where do I think he's going to go from a perspective of me being a baseball fan? Me being a baseball fan, I think he's going to go where the most money is offered to him. I don't think the Yankees showed anything special this year to help him make a decision that he's going to definitely stay with the Yankees. As a matter of fact, I thought they may have looked a little soft by getting their asses kicked by the Dodgers. And I hope that doesn't, parlay him into having secret conversations with the Dodgers and going to win. With the team that's already put together to win and has a superstar at every position. I don't think Juan Soto wants that, but I do in turn think that Juan Soto wants the most money. So this is where the conundrum lies with the Yankees. Now, the Yankees have a lot of money to spend, not as much as Cohen, not as much as the owner of the Dodgers. And look, Juan Soto went up to Boston the other day, had a meeting. They pulled out a couple of things. They talked to him, told him why it'd be good to be playing Boston. But at the end of the day, Boston is Boston, and they are not going to win the World Series next year. The Yankees. Yankees gave Garrett Cole an extension. Don't think they should have done that. They should have gone with maybe signing Burns or whatever. Maybe they thought that Garrett Cole is just, he's a member of the organization and he's going to pitch well for us next year. And then, we're going to come back and we're going to make a run at it. I don't think so. I think Garrett Cole is going to get hurt at some point in the beginning of next year. And I think if Juan Soto signs with the Yankees, there's going to be pitching problems right off the bat. And I don't think Juan Soto is going to be happy. And I don't think Juan Soto is a Yankee long enough to get into the Yankee lore. Now, let's say the Yankees win the World Series this year. Yeah, Juan Soto's like, holy shit, I'm a Yankee and I just win the World Series. Instead, I'm Juan Soto. I'm probably going to get the biggest contract ever in sports history. And I don't know if I want to come back to the Bronx. So there's teams out there with a lot of money. There's teams out there talking about the Padres might want to come talk to him. There's also, what am I going to call them? Rumors out there that Soto wants to go back to Washington eventually. That Washington's going to come out of nowhere and offer him a contract, and he wants to go back to where he started. Mind you, he was a Major League Baseball player at 19 years old. He was in the minors for about 6 months. I don't know if you know the story about him talking about how he's not going to have his bed long. So then he instantaneously made a huge impact on major leagues. Became one of the best players in the game, won a World Series, came close to the MVPs. Now he's a New York Yankee with a big contract in front of him. Then there's a team on the other side in Queens. Now, I'm a Met fan. You guys all know that. And I know you know that Edubs is a Yankee fan. Edubs is such a Yankee fan that he's out in California right now, having tacos with Juan Soto. But hear me out. Steve Cohen is the richest owner in Major League Baseball right now. And Steve Cohen is an owner with a lot of money who wants to spend it. That being said, there's other teams in major leagues that don't want to spend their money. Men like Steve Cohen and others have a luxury tax. Steve Cohen doesn't care about the luxury tax. Steve Cohen wants to win a World Series. Now let's talk about the Mets team this year for a minute. Now, Mets don't recover in the beginning of the season. Mets started off and 22 and 33, 11 games under 500. They had a little bit of a rough patch in the beginning. Now, do you think that if the Mets just said, whatever, we're going to be the same old Mets and we're just going to keep on going and we're just going to play like shit, and Francisco Lindor is going to be like, oh, my contract, I want it to be up. He's like, I can't believe I signed this 10-year deal, and the Mets just go back to being the Mets. Then you know what? I'd say absolutely Juan Soto is not coming to the Mets. But the season that the Mets had this year, the adversity that they came back from behind, the type of team that they became, the OMG stuff, Pete Alonso coming back to hitting big home runs. Francisco Lindor, if it wasn't for Godzilla out in LA, would be the MVP of the league. Became the guy that I knew and thought that he was going to be. I knew and thought that Francisco Lindor coming to this Mets team is going to have an effect on the players. Now, when I say it's going to have an effect on the players, there's a couple of no-name players on this team. Jose Iglesias, who's he? We know who he is. You got players that, who in the right mind would have thought that a kid like Jose Iglesias, I won't even call him a kid. Jose Iglesias is a man who was in the minor leagues for a long time and said, you know what, though, let me give this baseball thing a shot. And you know what? Played for the Mets, signed for a contract, and the rest is history. Big hit after big hit after big hit. World Series, he kind of came up short, didn't really play much. But you know what, though? He had a lot of big hits this year and a lot of promise. Now, we have Francisco Lindor at third base. I'm not worried about Pete Alonso. Now, look, the Cubs could offer him a lot of money. The Yankees could offer him a contract if they lose out on Soto. Other teams could go in there. I think if anywhere, he might be a Chicago Cub. If they offer him a lot of money, he'll hit a lot of home runs there. He'll also hit a lot of home runs in Citi Field. But the point I'm making right here is Pete Alonso's not going anywhere because of the aforementioned Juan Soto. Juan Soto is coming to the Mets because of guys like Jose Iglesias, okay? Because of guys like Ronnie Mauricio coming up. I'm sorry, but I think that I think that the game has passed you a little bit by, Brett Beatty. But I think that Ronnie Mauricio is a name that's gonna maybe be trade talks, maybe come up and do well this year. Because I'll tell you right now, Mark Vientos is our third baseman for the foreseeable future. He's a foreseeable future 3-hitter, 2-hitter. He could be plugged into the lineup, and he has to work on his defense a little bit. But I have a feeling that Francisco Lindor is going to grab that kid and say, come to my house and let's do some, infield drills so he can get him going with the infield a little bit. That's the minute that Vientos becomes a solid third baseman defensively, he will be the best third baseman in the major leagues in a couple of years. Second base. Listen, Willie Adames is still out there. We offered him a contract. Maybe we'd like to offer him a little more because I do not want to see Jeff McNeil on the baseball team next year. If anything, I'd like to see Jeff McNeil get traded and Acuna Jr. come in there, and Acuna Jr. could come in and he could play center field, or he could play short, or he could play second base. So we got Pete at first. We got up in the air, McNeil. We don't know what's going to go on at second base. We got Lindor at shortstop, and then we got Vientos at third. Now let's go to the outfield, okay? The outfield, my center fielder. I'm going to take Acuna as my center fielder because I like him in center field. And we'll figure out maybe Adames at second base. My left fielder, Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo, you showed us something that you are a part of the New York Mets going forward, and you are a big-time team player, and you're going to be part of this Mets organization for a long time. So you play left field every day of the week until you need a break. Now, right field, Starling Marte. Contract is up. Haven't heard much about him, about contract negotiations, where he's going to go, what's he going to do. But I can tell you right now, if the Mets sign Juan Soto, Starling Marte is going to have to go because he's going to want to play the field. Listen, Starling Marte is a better right fielder than Juan Soto, hands down. Guy's got a better arm. No, he's more athletic in the outfield. Juan Soto is really not a good right fielder, but Juan Soto hits. Juan Soto is one of the best hitters in the game. Juan Soto, at 26-year-old, is being talked about by a bunch of these big-time older guy hitters and even younger guy hitters have one of the perfect swings in professional baseball. So he is going to become the guy in right field. Do I want him to be the right fielder? No. Do I want him batting third in my lineup? Absolutely. Do I want him batting, third or fourth? He won't be batting. He'll be batting third. But yes, I want him. I want the bat there. So, Steve Cohen, you have all the money in the world. You're out there in Cali right now, as all the other Hawks are out there, hawking around wherever Juan Soto is staying. So what you need to do is go out there and find out what other teams are offering, and you need to sell a bill of goods to Juan Soto that Queens is the future and the Bronx is the past. And I'm saying that right now, guys, because the Bronx is the past. Okay? I'm not a Yankee fan. I don't root for them, but I'm also not a Yankee hater. And I'm also a realist. Why would you want to go back to that team? A lot more fun going on there in Queens, guys. Those guys are hitting, they're fielding, and they believe in each other. And they have an owner that sits in the stands. They have an owner that doesn't give a shit how much money he spends. There's an owner that doesn't give a shit about luxury tax penalties. And there's an owner that basically said growing up he's a Mets fan. And you know how that works, guys. If I was a billionaire, Mets would be my fantasy baseball team too. So that's how he's looking at it. So how much money do you want, Soto? Boom, you got it. How much money do you want? You got it. So this is a team that is next year. They got to be going into the next season in Major Leagues as a World Series favorite. A World Series favorite because of the addition that they're going to make and the subtractions that they might make too. Because I think Jeff McNeil is going to be gone. And one more thing that I think the Mets can add to solidify this run that they're going to make next year as a World Series champion is offer Corbin Burns the world. Offer him the world. Offer Corbin Burns whatever he wants. 6 years, 7 years. Like my son just walked in and wanted to know what I was doing. Offer Corbin Burns what he wants as well. Because you know what, though? Once you get talking figures in the hundreds and hundreds of millions, almost billions of dollars, those numbers just become irrelevant to people like me and you. And you could be out there complaining, don't spend the money, don't spend the money. When you have billions, it's like throwing $100 on the bar, guys. Like throwing a little bet on a team on the weekend. Because these billionaires at this point, and we have a billionaire that doesn't care about throwing his money around, why not get Burns? Adames, Burns, Juan Soto, the Mets are the sure favorite to win the World Series next year. Now, the hot stove is just starting to boil a little bit. I don't know if Soto's going to hold up any other teams. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to say, listen, I'm just going to give somebody an answer so other people can sign. But let's just say, Juan Soto, come to the New York Mets, come to Queens. Francisco Lindor, he's your captain. Francisco Lindor, he's your boy. Francisco Lindor is going to be the guy that's going to keep this house in order. So Soto, come on over here. You don't have to be the number one guy. You don't have to be the guy that's looked at to do stuff every single day. But you're going to be coming to a team that has a bunch of men that are hungry to win a World Series next year. You're coming to a team that has an owner that's hungry to win a World Series next year. You're coming to a team with a general manager. Yes, I'm calling him the general manager because we are not going to probably sign one. We are going to have David Stearns, the 30-something-year-old, running that team from both ends. He's a young kid. He can do it. He doesn't need a GM because he's one of the smartest young minds in baseball. And with 1 year under his belt going into year 2, Carlos Mendoza showed me something last year that he knows how to run a baseball team. He knows how to coach a team, and he knows how to coach personalities. These men, even when the chips were down, went out there and they played baseball for each other. They played for their coach. So going into next season, New York Met fans, we have a lot to look forward to. Now, I'm going to go into fandom later on at the end of this podcast. And New York Mets, don't worry about it. I'm going to be there for life, and so is my son. The NFL, we got some NFL games going on tomorrow. Now, I'll talk about my Jets last because I got something to say and I got something to talk about. We got some games going on tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow is Sunday. tomorrow is the NFL is still going on, Jet fans, because if you were like me, I pretty much checked out on my football team. And I'll explain why later. I'll explain why fandom is a problem for me because it's hard, but I cannot, in my right mind, watch the New York Jets on TV. I can't watch their highlights, and I cannot buy a hat, shirt, jersey, or anything with their logo on it. They have depressed me and they have let me down so many times that it's over. And I'll explain why later. Let's get into this first game here, the Packers and the Bears. Now, Packers and the Bears, they're playing in Chicago. Now, Chicago's got a quarterback over there, Caleb Williams. He is supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be the quarterback, and he's supposed to be the number one guy out there, okay? Really has been pretty mediocre and pretty pedestrian the last couple of games. But, hey, he's a rookie. But also, hey, there's another guy, Jaden Daniels, that was drafted also that's doing pretty well in Washington. Jordan Love. Jordan Love right now is coming back from an injury, okay, to say the least. Now, Jordan Love is trying to become an elite quarterback in the NFL, but I just don't see it, okay? He looks a little scared sometimes. He throws up the ball. You know, when he heaves up the ball, that'll show by his over 10 interceptions that he has in first couple of weeks. But remember, he was also injured. But this is a team right now that lost Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers left. They, instead of hanging on to Aaron Rodgers, they went a different route, and they went with the young arm Jordan Love. And I'm not saying Jordan Love is going to be a bad quarterback going forward, but I think he's young. He's got some growing pains. These are two teams that are fighting for a division behind two teams that are playing with every single motor going. Although Minnesota did show a little weakness last week, there's a team named the Detroit Lions that's going on all cylinders, and we'll get to them later. But this Packers-Bears matchup is really, I think, at the end of the day, is going to be the fight for who comes in last place. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a bad team, but one of those teams is going to come in last. And I think that Chicago Bears and the Packers, Chicago Bears are going to lose this football game. Chicago Bears are not even going to cover the spread. And I think tomorrow, Jordan Love is going to come out and show everybody that he is a professional quarterback and he is there to push this team forward. And he's going to be there as the future quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. So I'm going to take the Packers -5.5. Jordan Love having a huge game tomorrow. The Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is a big number, guys. 13.5 points. This is a Jacksonville Jaguars football team that has year after year after year given their fans something to be angry about. Because this is the team that cannot get out of their own way. This is the team that cannot pick the right football players. This is the team that cannot pick the right coach. This is a team that cannot get out of its own way. Now, you got Sunshine over there as the quarterback, who I don't think he's playing. You got a football team riddled with a couple of injuries. I think a couple of their injuries right there might be just a matter of our team sucks and we don't want to play. And I hate that that's a narrative in the NFL these days, but I think that might be going on there in Jacksonville. The Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions have the recipe to win a Super Bowl. When I say recipe to win a Super Bowl, they talked about this other day on ESPN, and I do agree fully. They have a head coach that loves his team. They have a head coach that's hungry, and they have a head coach that is not willing to tell his players, I'm in charge, and this is what the fuck we're doing, okay? Jared Goff, elite quarterback. Ahmad St. Brown, elite wide receiver. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's running all over the place. They got two running backs there. They got an offensive line that's playing okay, and they got a defense that's playing okay, missing one of their best defensive linemen. Poor kid Aiden Hutchinson is going to be out for the rest of the year. That's his last name. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he's going to be out, and that was a big, big blow for the Detroit Lions going forward. But this Detroit Lions can win a Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, they have an offensive line that, like I said, is playing okay, but they have to be behind their quarterback. Jared Goff could win a Super Bowl with this team. He showed it last year, and I think Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions are going to be back in business and back in the Super Bowl this year, most likely. But I'll give my Super Bowl picks at the end of the year. But I think Jared Goff, Ahmad St. Brown, and the Detroit Lions, along with Dan Campbell jumping up and down, backing his players up at every single second, go into Jacksonville tomorrow, cover the spread and win by 3 touchdowns. That's right, 3 touchdowns. Detroit wins 31-10. 31-10, Detroit wins tomorrow. The Vikings and the Titans. This is another game. Now, Detroit's got a game tomorrow against a pansy-ass team, I guess you would call it, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Minnesota Vikings have a game, and they're going to Tennessee, who are, listen, Tennessee Titans, they're not the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they're almost there, okay? Because the Titans are a team that I keep telling you in the past that they can't get out of their own way either. They've had good seasons, good runs, and you don't know how they do it. They lost an elite running back because of that situation, and they have Will Levis. Who's Will Levis? Exactly. This is exactly why the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold are going to run over the Titans tomorrow. They're going to pass all over them. And Sam Darnold looked a little pedestrian last week, and Sam Darnold looked a little bit like the New York Jets Sam Darnold. But I think that's going to change because when you have Justin Jefferson and you have Sam Darnold have 2 bad weeks in a row, and you have a Minnesota Vikings team that's going to be fighting with the Detroit Lions for first place, I think the Minnesota Vikings have something to prove here. And listen, Tennessee Titans, they're an NFL football team. They got to prove something by doing the same thing that the Detroit Lions do to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got to beat the Titans by at least 2 touchdowns. So Minnesota, big game tomorrow, even though the foe is not, the opponent is not somebody who's supposed to give you a matchup. They're still an NFL football team, and you still got to go in there and prove something. Sam Darnold, you've thrown a lot of interceptions the last 2 weeks. I don't know if that's going to be a continued thing. I don't know if Sam Darnold finally the real, like Eminem, the real Sam Darnold, please stand up. But we'll see this week because he has an opportunity right now to kill the Tennessee Titans and throw all over that terrible defense. The Miami Dolphins against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Miami Dolphins with Tua back. Now, Tua is back, and that's huge for the Dolphins. Why? Because they didn't know what was going on with the no quarterback situation. Tua is a really good quarterback. Tua could run that offense. Tyreek Hill is one of the best wide receivers in the game. I say one of the best wide receivers in the game because when Tua was out, he really didn't even look like he wanted to play. Now Tua's back. He even said it himself. Tua's back. Our offense is going again. So Miami could make some noise for the playoffs, but probably not. Monster's playing. They got a decent running game. Their defense is terrible. They're not terrible, but they're okay. But the fact that the Miami Dolphins are going to make some noise in the AFC East, I don't think that's happening. So the Miami Dolphins are going to play a game at home against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are in shambles. The Las Vegas Raiders, they have a coach who they don't know if he's still going to be the coach. They have an owner who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. They have a really, really pissed off defensive lineman who literally, just wants to continue to push because he doesn't have it in him to stop. So unless Max Crosby goes out there and has 14 sacks and throws for 4 touchdowns, I don't think the Las Vegas Raiders have any shot to beat the Miami Dolphins. I know the Miami Dolphins are really not a team that's going to make the playoffs, but the Las Vegas Raiders are a team that's in shambles, and they have nowhere to go but down right now. So I think the Miami Dolphins are going to win this football game, and I think the Miami Dolphins I'm taking the Raiders with the number. It's 7.5. I'm taking the Raiders with the number, but the Miami Dolphins are going to win this football team. The Los Angeles Rams against the New England Patriots. I hate to say this, but the New England Patriots are a team right now that's starting from the bottom, and now they're rising back. They drafted Drake May. They drafted a quarterback. They have a coach. They have a defense, and they have the beginnings of an offense. Drake May looks good. He's going to be a future good quarterback in the NFL, unlike somebody else. But the fact that the Patriots are even going to contend with the Rams this weekend is crazy because, like I said, the Patriots have an up-and-coming team. They got Drake May. They're still young, and they got a Rams team who's healthy now. Rams are healthy because Cooper Kupp is healthy. They have Matthew Stafford still there, who's 37 years old and would like to do something, maybe make a playoff run. He wants to do something. Their running game is okay. Their defense is pretty good, and they got a young coach who is probably tired of saying that he can't coach anymore because his team wasn't playing well. Now, the Los Angeles Rams, they have something to prove. They want to make the playoffs. Los Angeles Rams are at a number of 4.5 points over the Patriots. The Los Angeles Rams are going to beat the Patriots by a touchdown and cover the spread in New England tomorrow. The New Orleans Saints and the Cleveland Browns. New Orleans Saints have 3 wins. Cleveland Browns have 2 wins. It's all you got to know about these 2 football teams. It's going to be a terrible football game, but the Saints are going to come out on top because the Saints have the best football player on the field tomorrow, and Alvin Kamara. Now, I say that because Alvin Kamara is my fantasy running back, and I hope he gets me 50 points tomorrow. But the fact that the fact that the Saints and the Browns are going to play a football game tomorrow, that all it means is pretty much who's the worst football team. The Saints defense is terrible. The Cleveland offense is horrendous. They don't know where they're going. Cleveland is Cleveland. How'd you like to be a Cleveland Browns fan? At least Detroit Lions, they can win a Super Bowl in the next year or two. But how'd you like to be a Cleveland Browns fan, Jet fans? Okay. Cleveland Browns are worse off and they're a bigger mess than the New York Jets right now. So that being said, tomorrow, the Saints win by 2 touchdowns because Alvin Kamara goes crazy on that Cleveland defense because they're going to key on Myles Garrett, the only one that can play football on that defense. And the Saints go in there and they go march into, it's a home game. That's even better. Indoors, New Orleans, 2 touchdowns over Cleveland. Bet it, lock it. That's the lock of the week. I know it's 2 terrible teams, but the Saints are going to kill it at home. That's a lock of the week. The Broncos and the Falcons. Now, the Broncos and the Falcons are 2 teams that are fighting for something. The Broncos and the Falcons are 2 teams that are trying to go in a different direction. The Falcons signed veteran Kirk Cousins. The Denver Broncos get rid of Russell Wilson and go with rookie Bo Nix. And now Bo Nix came into this league from an Oregon offense that we all know Oregon, how they run their offense is pretty much an NFL-ready offense. Bo Nix came into a situation where I think that he's NFL-ready. He's in a situation to lead that team, if not this year, the next couple of years, to do something. I'm not saying Super Bowl, I'm not saying playoffs, but Denver Broncos are a team that's been waiting a little while since Peyton Manning took them their Super Bowl to do something in Denver. And I think Bo Nix was definitely the right choice for that football team. Whether they got to grow with him a little bit, whether they got to get him a little bit, another wide receiver, where they got to get him a running back, maybe some help. Their defense is playing good. Their offense needs some help. But I think the Denver Broncos are well on their way to becoming a relevant football team again with Bo Nix as their quarterback. So you got the Broncos and the Falcons. Falcons need something. Falcons need to do something this week. Falcons need to show – Kirk Cousins needs to show the NFL that he's still relevant here. Now, Kirk Cousins, being the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, instantaneously made them a contender. It's amazing what a quarterback can do for a franchise. Kirk Cousins tomorrow are they playing at home? They're playing in Denver. I think Kirk Cousins is going to get sacked like 4 times tomorrow. I think that Denver offense is going to be playing hard against that Falcons defense. And I think the Falcons are going to go into tomorrow's game thinking that they're going to beat the shit out of Bo Nix. They're going to beat the shit out of the young quarterback, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Bo Nix has a big game tomorrow. They cover the 2 and they win at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is a huge game. This is, believe it or not, a game of the week. This is a game that in a division where maybe 8 wins might win it. Maybe not even 500, I'm telling you, will win that division. And, rightfully so. There's reasons the 49ers have been riddled with injuries. But the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks are playing a football game tomorrow where the Seattle Seahawks throw all over the place. They have Geno Smith throwing the ball for thousands and thousands and thousands of yards, and they're still trying to win football games because the Seattle defense sucks, okay? They have DK Metcalf as their only wide receiver, really. They have a running back got his name, Kenneth Walker III, who, he's got a great week, and he's hurt. He's got a great week, and he sucks. He's up and down. He's a good running back. My son, I think maybe he's having an okay year this year because my son drafted him as his running back, but the fact that, that's just bad luck, when you drafted to my son's fantasy football team. Because if you are on a team named Skip Nelly this year in our fantasy football league, there's a chance that you got injured or you're not playing to your full potential because my son drafted you. And Christian McCaffrey, first pick, he's coming back. My son's first pick. Okay. Hence, he's the new Madden curse. Aiden Murphy is the new Madden curse because if you get drafted number 1, it's been said in the last couple of years that you will get hurt. So follow the Madden curse and follow the Aiden Murphy curse when it comes to football. The 49ers are back, locked and loaded. They got Deebo Samuel. They got Brandon Ayuk. They got CMC back. They got their defense is playing at a huge level. They're number 2 in passing. They have a little bit of suspect with the run, but hey, is 9 suspect? The defense is going to come out tomorrow, and they're going to be firing on all cylinders. I think Nick Bosa might sack Geno Smith tomorrow 4 times. The 49ers are in a situation where besides Kittle, because I think Kittle is out tomorrow or he's questionable, they're going to be firing on all cylinders. CMC is fully healthy. Debo's healthy. Debo had a little bit of an attitude last week. I don't know what that was last week. I don't know what that was trying to choke the place kicker. I don't know what that was trying to choke the long snapper. Ayuk is out for the year. Ayuk is out for the year. Should have done my homework there. But Ayuk's out, but you still got Debo. Now, again, with Debo, you don't know what you're going to get this week because he showed a side of himself. He showed a little bit of a frustration. Why are you choking the long snapper? Why are you going after the kicker? You got to keep a cool head. I watched you on receiver. You're a family man. You stay out of trouble. Just keep a cool head. You are one of the most electrifying players in professional football right now. Be that guy. Don't be the jerk. Okay? Let's go out there and let's play some football. You got a quarterback in Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who all of a sudden he's going to be spoken to in NFL legends as how did this guy become who he was? He's not going to be Tom Brady. He's not going to be Joe Montana, but he sure is awfully good for being the last pick in the draft. Okay? Nick Bosa and crew kill Geno Smith, beat up Walker. Okay? 49ers go into that game tomorrow, 6.5. I don't think that's even a big enough number. I think the 49ers go in there and beat the Seahawks by 2 touchdowns. 49ers win, and win big. And that's a huge win for the 49ers. They got to stay up. They got to stay up with the rest of the teams. This game right here is the game of the week. Now, I'm not a Jet fan anymore. I am a Jet fan, but I'm not watching it anymore. This is the game I'm going to be watching. There's 2 games tomorrow that we're going to be watching. The Bills and the Chiefs. This showdown right here is going to come down to the fact that there is 2 men who I think can't like each other too much, who I think respect each other as football players, but I think one of them has been on the losing end of mostly every game that they've been playing, and I think it's time for Josh Allen to get over the hump. Because I'm telling you right now, Josh Allen is a guy that who saw this coming? You know, he got drafted with a bunch of guys, and right now he's coming up on top as being the guy because he has an attitude, because he has a will to win, because he has the fact that he's going to throw the football to you, and you better catch it. If there's 3 defenders, could be through detriment because he's used to throwing a lot of interceptions. But you know what, though? What I'm looking right now, 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions sounds pretty damn proficient to me. So what I'm going to tell you right now about this game is I think the Chiefs are not the Chiefs like they used to be. The Chiefs are a 9-0 football team. The Chiefs are a soft 9-0 because I think there's a couple of games they could have lost, but they still have Pat Mahomes. The Chiefs have a pissed off Travis Kelce because I'm assuming that he's got to live with the fact that his girlfriend's been crying for the last 2 weeks. And I'm not going to get political on this, but Travis Kelce's probably at home dealing with a crying Taylor Swift. He's dealing with the rest of the NFL. He's probably dealing with Nick Bosa, calling him up every day, telling him, your guy lost the election or your girl lost the election. So he might be a little pissed off. So Travis Kelce, I think, is a guy that is going to have to take his manhood back off the shelf and get out there for Pat Mahomes and be the guy he's been for the last couple of weeks. Okay? Stop crying about the election and get out there and play some goddamn football. Beat Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs will be fine. Because with Deshaun, I always get him confused. Why do I get him confused with Deshaun Watson all the time? I took my notes, and I don't even have my notes in front of me. They got DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to make a huge impact for Pat Mahomes and that offense. Kareem Hunt carrying the football because Pacheco is out. Kareem Hunt, listen, the guy's an okay running back. The guy's going to get you some carries. The guy's got almost 500 yards. Is he a little crazy? Does he beat up women? Maybe. But you know what, though? He's in at running back tomorrow for Pat Mahomes. Their defense is playing pretty good, but I do not think tomorrow is going to be enough for Josh Allen. The Bills Mafia is going to be in full effect tomorrow. The Bills defense is going to be all over the place. Mahomes is going to make his plays. But you know what, though? The outcome of tomorrow's football game is not going to be like it's in the past. It's going to be a close game. And by close game, it might come down to maybe a field goal or 2. But you know what, though? Bucker, one of the most proficient kickers, is out tomorrow. He's injured. Mr. Conservative, Mr. whatever you want to call him. Everybody's mad at him for another stupid reason. But you know what, though? He's injured. He's the best kicker in football. Game comes down to maybe 2 field goals. Bills win in Buffalo tomorrow and get over the hump. Bills are going to win. I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm a Jet fan, but I'm going to get to my Jets fandom in a minute or 2 after I get these games out of the way. Chargers and Bengals. That's a big football game for both teams. The Bengals, slow start. Burrow throwing the ball all over the place. Jamar Chase being Jamar Chase. Chase Brown. Picked him up a couple of weeks ago on my fantasy football teams and giving me big points. He's going to have a big game. But on the other side of the football, you have a San Diego Chargers football team that's looking for relevance. They're looking for Harbaugh to be another relevant Harbaugh in the league. They're looking for Justin Herbert to make that jump to an elite quarterback. They're looking for Justin Herbert to make that jump. Their defense is playing well. They got the other Bosa, the less aggressive Bosa. Might be chasing Burrow around a little bit tomorrow. But Burrow is starting to play football again. Jamar Chase, maybe he's a little lazy, maybe not. I don't know, but he's not playing lazy the last couple of weeks. Jamar Chase is playing at a high level. T. Higgins is back today, okay? So this game right here could go either way. I got to be honest with you. I think this is a game where the San Diego Chargers have to step up and the San Diego Chargers have to say either put up or shut up because they looked a little soft in the beginning. I know Harbaugh's a new, not new, but new now, new football team, new quarterback. They picked Joe Alt as their first pick in the draft. He's supposedly one of the best offensive linemen. He's going to grow. This team has a future. Does it have a Super Bowl victory in it this year? I don't think so. Does it have a playoff run in it? Possibly. San Diego Chargers win the football game tomorrow, and Cincinnati Bengals keep wondering why they score so many points and why they can't win. Joe Burrow, what are you going to do, man? All right, you're a long way from smoking that cigar with LSU. And last but not least, the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. If you were to tell me a couple weeks ago that this game was going to be on a Monday night, that this game was going to be in Dallas, and that this game was going to be important because Dallas was in first place fighting against the Philadelphia Eagles, then I'd say huge game. Tomorrow, not even going to talk much about it. Dallas, they're on their way to becoming irrelevant this year. Dak Prescott, done for the year, okay? Micah Parsons looking a little angry, looking a little frustrated. I don't know. What you got to do tomorrow is you got to chase CJ Stroud down, okay? Tomorrow is going to be your day to say, am I still playing football? You chase CJ Stroud tomorrow and you sack him a couple times, the Dallas Cowboys got a chance. If you don't do that, if the Dallas defense does not do that, you're going up against an offense in Derrick Henry and not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, dumbass. You're going up against Joe Mixon and you're going up against CJ Stroud and you're going up against Nico Collins. He's back tomorrow. So that's an offense that needs to win a football game. And what better of a way to go up against a Dallas Cowboys football team that's a wreck? The Houston Texans go into Dallas, and there's going to be another big loss. The Dallas Cowboys lose, just like Mike Tyson lost, in the same building, same weekend. Dallas Cowboys on their way to irrelevancy, and I would be remiss to say how upset and pissed off I was about a football team. The Dallas Cowboys have been playing in that stadium for how many years now? Now Jerry Jones has to come out and talk about the goddamn sun in his eyes. Other topic, another day. Dallas Cowboy fans, how do you feel about the complaint from having sun in their eyes? Now, the New York Jets are playing a football game against the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this game, and then I'm going to go into a little story about the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets are going to lose this football game tomorrow. I think that I'm not even going to go into the stats. I'm not even going to go into why. I don't even know why. Because as a Jet fan my entire life, I've watched this football team go from terrible to okay to, oh my God, and back to terrible. And say what you want about winning percentages. Say what you want about, oh, our team made the playoffs here. Our team made the playoffs there. 1969, Joe Namath cursed this football team beyond recognition. I'm not going to go into it again, how I feel that Joe Namath sold his soul to the devil, and that's why the Jets will never be relevant again until Joe Namath dies and the devil comes and picks up his soul. But the Jets are a mess. Now, the Jets right now, if you went into the season, say, we have an elite Hall of Fame quarterback, a guy that wants to win, a guy that last year got hurt on the fourth play of the season and shattered our dreams because we had to go back to Zach Wilson. Okay. Now, day 1, week 12, he's in. He's been playing. He's been playing okay, just like the rest of the team. The Jets missed 22 tackles last week. The Jets lost against the San Francisco 49ers in week 1. They missed 20 tackles. Now that's 42 tackles in 2 games. And I don't even want to look at the rest of the weeks. But 22 missed tackles last week against a team that you were supposed to beat, against a team that said, Kyler Murray, we're going to murder Kyler Murray. What kind of identity does the Arizona Cardinals have? The Jets have to go into Arizona and they have to get relevance. They have to get back to where they think they should be. Kyler Murray made that Jet defense look like a high school defense. Aaron Rodgers couldn't even get a pass off. Aaron Rodgers was getting chased. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the players. I don't know what it is. But this rant that I'm about to go on is not about the players. Because you know what, though? Maybe one player. Sauce Gardner, I'm not going to talk about you much, but to say that I want you off this football team as quick as possible. I want you off this football team as trade bait. You could go play football for any other organization, but do not come back to the New York Jets next year. You're soft. You don't play football the way football is supposed to be played in the NFL. And I do not want you near this football team anymore. Now, if any Jet fan out there says, what are you, crazy? He's a great cornerback. No, he's not. And I don't even care if he has a good game this week. He showed his identity week 1. He is not an elite cornerback. He is not a big man. He's still a little boy that doesn't want to tackle. That's my thoughts on Sauce Gardner. And if Sauce Gardner is still here on this football team next year, it's going to be a miracle because you could trade to another sucker and get draft picks or whatever you want for this guy. But I'll tell you right now, do not put Sauce Gardner back in a New York Jets uniform next year. Breece Hall, what's going on with you? I'm not going to go as far as saying, Breece Hall, I don't want you back in a Jets uniform, but you've had one game this year where you've had over 100 yards rushing. And if you look at the Jets playbook is catered to run up the middle. You for shit sure know that every 4th or 5th play, the Jets are going to hand off to Breece Hall. Hand off to the left, hand off to the right. It doesn't matter. Most defenses could set their watches to it. That is when that play is going to be called. Back to coaching, I guess. Does Breece Hall have enough balls in to say that we got to switch up the offensive play calling? Does Breece Hall have the gall to say that, is he sitting back and saying until something changes, I'm just not going to play? I hope not, because he doesn't seem like that guy. But Breece Hall, you've showed me nothing. So you're going against a defense this week that cannot contain the run. They cannot contain a run. Teams run all over the Indianapolis Colts, all over them. Breece Hall, you need to run. You need to catch, and you need to score touchdowns, okay? Because throwing the football to Garrett Wilson worked 2 weeks ago. Throwing the football to Devontae Adams worked 2 weeks ago. You know what happened to the offense last week? Telling you right now, New York Jets, you got to get your act together. And the defense, I don't know what's going to happen because you are a bunch of grown men who let other grown men and young kids walk all over you. Quinnen Williams, what happened? What's going on? The other guy, I don't even want to mention his name. The linebacker who stood out for the weeks and weeks and weeks, finally got paid. You had a tackle last week. What happened? I already said what I had to say about Sauce Gardner. You know what happened? You know what happened to this Jets organization? It's the coaching. And I'm going to go off on a rant again, but it won't be as long as the other one. The coaching has to change. When I say the coaching has to change, I say the coaching has to change drastically. Get rid of everybody. Down to the water boy. Everybody from this Jets, from the top down. I mean, Woody too. Okay? When I say Woody, I'm going to tell you a story about another football team that did something to an organization that I hope happens. Okay? I can't watch this football team. I can't watch them and be excited every Sunday or primetime football games for this football team. I can't do it anymore. Okay? The Jets right now have a team that on paper, it's a vet. It's not a Ferrari, but it's a brand new Corvette. And you know who's driving? Nobody. You know who's driving? An old guy who thinks he knows what he's doing, who thinks he could do a lot, but literally should just stick to steering the steering wheel and not telling the engine what to do. They're not telling the tires what to do. Okay. This is a Corvette that's being run by somebody that doesn't know how to drive a car. He just knows how to drive a car, but he doesn't know any other aspect of it. Talking about Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Okay. Aaron Rodgers right now is part of a football team that no coach on that staff wants to tell him to shut up. No coach on there wants to be embarrassed if they make a wrong call. No coach on there wants to say, you know what, Aaron, shut up. This is my team and you do what the hell I say. That's where you got to go and get a guy that's been in the league a long time. That's where you got to go and get a guy that's not going to want to be Aaron Rodgers' friend. That's where you go and get a guy that's an old curmudgeon that knows football and is not worried about being friends with anybody on that football team. And when I say that, I say Rex Ryan. Now, to me, Rex Ryan makes sense because he will be that guy. He's outward. He wants the job. But is he going to be the guy that's going to walk in there and be their friend? He's too far removed from coaching to walk in there and be a friend. Listen, I understand he had Mark Sanchez's number tattooed on him. That's young Rex. Young Rex is becoming older Rex. Now, if you remember older Rex has a father named Buddy, who's not here anymore. And Buddy was an asshole. Buddy was a defensive genius. Buddy wanted to win football games. Buddy didn't give a shit if he was friends with the players. Okay. As a matter of fact, he attacked the head coach on national television. You remember that in that Tennessee Titans matchup? I think they were still the Oilers then. Buddy attacked the head coach. Okay. Rex Ryan, you want this football team? Rex Ryan, dig back to what your dad used to do. Dig back to that kind of stuff, and you got the job. But the problem with that is you're going to have to get an offensive coordinator. The offense is terrible. The offense is run terribly. So you got Rex Ryan, you got a good head coach, you got a leader, you got a guy who doesn't want to be friends, but you need an offensive coordinator. Gruden, are they going to let Gruden back in? I don't know. He's got a lawsuit against the NFL. Do I want him coaching my football team? Absolutely. The guy's an offensive genius. We could figure something out about the defensive coordinator, but Gruden coming in, the offense, great combination would be Gruden and Rex Ryan, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of headaches, and that'll never happen. I want Rex Ryan. People have been talking about Gruden. I do not want a coordinator as my head coach. No coordinators. And I repeat, I don't want to hear Ben Johnson's name. I don't want to hear the guy from Kansas City. I don't want to hear an offensive or a defensive coordinator's name come out of anybody's mouth, because coordinators that have never been head coaches before are not on my list. They need to get somebody in there that's coached a professional football team and has become a head coach. No more hotshot coordinators. A guy that's going to go in there and say, this is what I want. A guy like Belichick. Okay. Now, do I think Belichick can still coach? I don't know. Do I think Belichick still wants to coach? I don't know. But you look at Belichick, he hates the Jets organization. It's still better than what we got now. We got a bunch of guys that instead of coaching Aaron Rodgers, they want to ask him if he wants to go out and have a drink after practice. And every time Aaron Rodgers says, you know what, guys, I really don't drink. You guys go, have a beer, celebrate or whatever. I'm just going to go home. And all of them say, you know what, guys, we're just going to go home too, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go out. Aaron Rodgers is leading that football team to a detriment. Aaron Rodgers might even be running the defense at this point, because maybe he's trying to do too much. Maybe he thinks he can because he's arrogant. But you know what, though? Aaron Rodgers is running the football team. It's evident, and it's got to stop. So this year, in my eyes, is a wash. Okay? I don't want to watch another Jets football game, and I don't want to even hear that look how good they're playing. I'll be watching the Bills game tomorrow, and I'll probably be watching the Ravens and the Steelers tomorrow, because those are two big football games, and I don't even think I got into that matchup, because I think the Ravens and the Steelers is the game of the day tomorrow. So the New York Jets. I think the Jets are going to find a way to lose the game tomorrow. And if they do win, it's going to be a big win. So that's, you take that with however you want to take it. But the fact that, sorry, it's got a text. So that being said, I'd like to see the Jets lose tomorrow. And I just said that if the Jets do win, it's going to be a big win. But I think they're going to lose because Jonathan Taylor is going to run for 150 yards against that meager Jets defense. So I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow on the run game. Taylor's going to run all over the place. The quarterback Richardson's I hate to say he's a pussy. I don't know if the rumors are true, but he literally said he doesn't want to play because he didn't feel good. I don't know about that, but I don't know. You see quarterbacks throwing up all the time in the sidelines. You see players that don't feel good all the time. I don't know what do you have. Anyway, he didn't want to play football. Now he's playing football. So now they got to show. Now he's got to show his organization something. So Jets are in a bad spot. The Jets are going to lose the football game tomorrow. Taylor's going to have about 150 yards rushing. Mark my words. So I've gone over everything that I want to go over when it comes to football of today. Now, I made a decision last week. I made a decision that I am not watching the Jets anymore. The Jets are not giving me anything. They come up on the screen when I'm watching Red Zone, so be it. Am I going to follow them like I follow every other NFL football team? Yes, I'm going to peek in on them. I'm going to watch football as an NFL observer because I love the game of football. I love sitting around with my son on Sundays and Mondays and just watching football. That's what I like to do. That's what we do. My son, happy birthday, Aiden. November 13th, he turned 20 years old. We always go to a Jet game for his birthday. Don't want to take him to a Jet game. He doesn't even want to go. Okay, so we got to figure something else out. Maybe we'll go to a football game, but maybe we'll go to a team that, just maybe we'll go to a Steeler game in Pittsburgh. I don't know. But the Jets did something to me last week. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about a team. 1984. This is relevant because the Jets are playing the Colts this weekend. Now I'm going to stop this here and start up again because I'm going to put this by itself. 3, 2, 1. The Jets as an organization have to do exactly what their opponents for this Sunday did back in 1984. Baltimore Colts trying to get a stadium deal done. Back in 1984, city of Baltimore wasn't giving. We weren't giving them nothing. They just said, you're on your own. Had big issues with the city of Baltimore. The Baltimore Colts were there a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but long enough time. In the Super Bowl. Actually lost in the Super Bowl to Joe Namath. Joe Namath, the most irrelevant quarterback in the history of the NFL. Let's talk Joe Namath another time. But guaranteed a Super Bowl victory against the Baltimore Colts. He got it. No, Johnny Unitas wasn't there, but hey, he won. Baltimore Colts, Jim Irsay says, you know what, City of Baltimore, I'm not going to give you guys any notice. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to release anything to the papers. I'm not going to release anything to anybody. I'm going to take my football team. I'm going to tell them to pack their bags. I'm going to tell them to meet me at the bus station. And when we get to the bus station, this is what we're going to do. We are no longer going to be the Baltimore Colts anymore. We're moving to Indianapolis, where they're welcoming us with open arms as an organization. Irsay said, this is what we're doing. This is what you're doing. And who's coming with me? Line from either Jerry Maguire or my favorite, Jim Brewer from Half Baked. But either way, who's coming with me? The whole team, families, the coaches, the organization, the trainers. Bang. They move to Indianapolis. They get a quarterback named Peyton Manning eventually, who plays amazing, who in my eyes is probably top 2, if not the greatest regular season quarterback to ever put on a pair of cleats. Okay. He is the guy that went to Indianapolis. He is the guy that won a Super Bowl. He is the guy that brought Indianapolis Colts to relevancy. And so on and so forth. And Indianapolis became who they were. And then 12 years later, who comes rolling in? Baltimore says, you know what? We miss football. Let's welcome the Baltimore Ravens to town. Baltimore Ravens show up. What's going on with the Baltimore Ravens now, guys? They got Super Bowls. They got an amazing head coach. I think he might be a little underrated because he's not talked about too much. But John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in sports right now. Okay? Lamar Jackson is an MVP in this league. Might be another MVP, might be a second MVP coming him this way. Okay. The Baltimore Ravens became a football team and they became a relevant organization. Now, Woody, now I have, I'm a little crazy when it comes to fandom. I think sports, I love sports, and I live and die with my sports teams. But the fact that I'm a Jet fan and the fact that I make it so hard on some of the young Murphys in this house and cousins and stuff that when you're 10 years old, you need to make a decision. You need to say, I am a fan of this team. So, through the years and years and years of being a Jet fan, through the years and years and years of heartache, to the years since 1980 when I went to go see my first Jet game at Shea Stadium, I watched Richard Todd. I watched Ken O'Brien. I watched a parade of terrible quarterbacks. I watched a parade of coaches come through. I've watched a parade of people saying that this is the Jets' year. Look at the Jets on paper. This is the Jets team on paper that's supposed to win the Super Bowl. Not from 1980 until now, I've rooted for this football team. I've let them give me agita. I've let them keep me up at night. I've let me be late for work the next day. And the bad is without a doubt outweighing the good. And when you come to a relationship with somebody and you come to a crossroads, right? And you look at your relationship and you say to yourself, does the good outweigh the bad? And you say to yourself, the bad outweighs the good tenfold. You just got to cash it in. Now, I want the Jets and I want Woody to do exactly what Irsay did with the Colts back in 1984. Because if the Jets were to leave town right now, okay, and go somewhere else, that takes my Jet fandom out of the picture because the Jets left us high and dry. You want to say that? The Jets organization went somewhere else. The Jets went to, listen, his brother was the diplomat for England. You know what? England wants a team so bad. How about you move the Jets to England? That's definitely far enough away. Or I could say, breath, not rooting for the Giants because they're still the home team. I don't care if the Bills are the only New York team. Can't root for the Bills, I guess. Need somebody to come in here with a fresh organization. Somebody wants a football team? Come to New York. Not New Jersey, not where you're sharing a stadium with the more relevant organization. And let's get that straight, Jet fans. Okay. I'm talking to you right now, who seems to think that we split a stadium with the Giants. That is the Giants' house. The Meadowlands were the Giants' house. They have history, they have Super Bowls, and they're in a little bit of hot water right now. They're not playing well at all. But the Giants will be back to relevancy. The Jets will not. The Jets will not win a Super Bowl. The Jets will not make the playoffs. And as an organization, Woody, get the buses ready, load up your team with Aaron Rodgers, take everybody, take the wives, take the kids, take the trainers, take the kickers, take everybody, and go to England. Set up shop over there. Listen, there's going to be a lot of pissed off Jet fans. But you know what, though? Be a sense of relief. Because then while you're searching for that organization to follow, while you're searching for that team, you're not obligated to root for the Jets anymore. You could say to yourself, and you could dramatize it, or you can make a positive spin on it, you can make a negative spin, however you want to spin it. The Jets are gone and they left us high and dry. So now, as a fan, opens up the doors for somebody to come to Queens and start another organization. Or start, well, I guess you just want a whole new organization. You don't want another organization to come in here because that I'll be struggling too. Let's give somebody else a shot to run and own a football team and call them the New York and give New York football back to New Yorkers. Give New York football back to the southern, eastern, northeastern. Give football back to the southern tier of New York, not New Jersey. You can keep the Giants. Let's get another organization in New York. Let's get Steve Cohen maybe to buy a football team and say, hey, maybe I could start a football team. Let's do something to shake shit up. Let's do stuff to shake fandom up a little bit, because being a fan of my team, I can't in my right mind say I'm not rooting for them anymore. I'm rooting for somebody else. You can't do that as a fan. But if your fans, if you have, your team folds up shop and leaves you high and dry, then you can do whatever you want. That's what I mean by my Jets fandom. Okay. Just sneak away. Just go in the night and never come back, and let some organization come in here and let's start from scratch. Now, I don't know if anybody's listening to this podcast that wants to talk about that, who wants to talk about that type of decision. And you know why I know I'm completely done with the Jets? Because the Jets have been terrible in years past. Jets have, I've almost, lost every single game. But I always came back Sunday. I always knew that something might be different. I always listened all week and say, all right, maybe if we do this, even listen to people on radio this week justifying the fact that the Jets went out, they could possibly be a wild card. That's how bad the AFC is right now. But it didn't matter to me. I don't care. If the Jets make a run right now, and the Jets go to the playoffs, I'll be happy, I guess. But it's not something that I'm going to go crazy about, because they have failed us for so long and they just need to go. Giants will be back to relevancy. Jets just cannot. While Joe Namath is still alive, and it takes years and years and years to break a curse, years and years and years. So even if Joe Namath would have died before the Super Bowl this year, that curse is still going to be around for at least 50 years. And that is not in my lifetime. My Aiden might be a grandfather when the Jets come back around to relevancy, but maybe my grandchildren will be able to root for a different team in New York. Maybe my grandchildren, maybe me and Aiden could say to his kids, and I could say to my grandchildren, that there used to be a team here called the New York Jets. They played in Jersey. They had this player and they had that player. Listen, we've had crazier conversations with our kids, right? And our grandchildren. I used to root for a team called the Brooklyn Dodgers. I used to root for a team called the Giants, and not the San Francisco Giants. So teams do leave, hearts do mend, and fandom still goes on. But Jet fans, we need to get rid of our organization completely, so we could find it in our hearts to root for somebody else. That's my take on the New York Jets. And that is why I won't be watching the New York Jets anymore for the rest of the season, and possibly for the foreseeable future. Thank you for your time today, guys. I did about an hour. I can't believe it. But this will be out on a podcast, and this will be out on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to break it up into a couple of segments. And listen, hey, thanks for joining me on this Saturday morning. I had a lot of stuff I had to get out, and you helped me with that. So let's go Mets and Jets. Please leave New York. This is the Murf and Edubbs show, minus Edubbs today. Edubbs, I hope your meeting in Cali went okay, because Juan Soto is going to be a Met.